pattern has ruined more lives than almost anything else I can name. People decide they want something. They want to lose weight. They want to make more money. They want to write a book. They want to build a business. And the first thing they do, the very first thing, is they set a goal. They write down the number. They put a date on it. They tell their friends. They make a plan. They are going to lose 40 pounds by June. They are going to double their income by next year. They are going to finish the book by Christmas. And then, somewhere between week 3 and week 6, the goal quietly dies. The plan falls apart. The number isn't getting hit. The date is going to come and go. And the person who set the goal sits in their disappointment and tries to figure out what went wrong. They blame their willpower. They blame their schedule. They blame circumstances. They tell themselves that they'll try again next January. But none of that is what went wrong. Here's the truth. They didn't fail because the goal was wrong. They failed because they had it backwards. They tried to install the goal before they built the habit. They built the destination before they built the road. They wrote the postcard before they laid the bricks. And a goal without a habit underneath it is a wish, dressed up in a deadline. It cannot survive. It was never going to survive. Today I want to talk to you about why you must build the habit before you build the goal. Why this order matters more than almost anything else you can learn about getting what you want out of life. And why the people you watch achieve big things aren't doing some magic version of goal setting you don't know about. They are simply doing the order correctly, while everybody else does it backwards. Now, before we get into it, I want you to understand the cost of doing this backwards. Because most people don't realize what their goal-setting habit is actually doing to them. They think it's producing energy. They think it's producing focus. They think it's moving their life forward. But underneath, something else is happening that nobody talks about. You see, every goal you set and then fail to achieve trains you to distrust yourself. Every January resolution that died in February, every "this year is going to be different" speech you gave yourself that ended up exactly like last year. Every plan you wrote down and watched yourself abandon, all of those count. They add up. And by the time you are 40, you have a long history with yourself of setting goals and watching them collapse. That history is not neutral. That history shapes how you respond to yourself the next time you try. You start to flinch. You set a smaller goal because you don't believe you'll actually do the big one. You write the goal down quietly instead of telling anybody, because you've learned that the announcement and the failure both come. And the failure is worse than the goal not having been spoken. You become somebody who, deep down, doesn't really believe their own intentions anymore. And that distrust, the distrust of your own word to yourself, is the worst thing that can happen to a person who wants to build a life that matters. And here's the truth. It compounds. You become smaller because of it. You aim lower because of it. And the version of you that was supposed to be reaching higher gets quieter and quieter until eventually you stop hearing it altogether. Ask yourself this. How many goals have you set in the last 10 years? How many of them did you hit? If the percentage is low, and for most people it's very low, you got to understand that every miss has been training you to expect failure, training you to set smaller, training you to keep your real ambitions hidden, even from yourself, because at some point the disappointment of trying and failing felt worse than the dullness of not trying. You must stop setting goals the way you have been setting them. Not because goals are bad, they're not, but because you have to earn the right to set a goal. And you earn it by building the habit first. Then and only then does the goal mean anything. Because by the time you have the habit, the goal is not something you are reaching for. It is something you are already on the path to, and the path makes the difference. Let's start with the most fundamental thing you have to understand. A goal is a destination. A habit is the road that takes you there. And most people, when they set goals, are doing the equivalent of picking a destination without checking if there is a road. They look at the place they want to go. They imagine themselves there. They get excited about the picture in their head. And they never once stop to ask whether the path from where they are to where they want to be actually exists. Here's the truth. The goal you set tells you nothing about how you are going to get there. The goal is the picture. The habit is the engine. And if you don't have the engine, no amount of looking at the picture is going to move you. The person who wants to lose 50 pounds, and the person who wants to write a book, and the person who wants to double their income all face the same underlying question. What is the daily thing I am going to do every single day, regardless of how I feel, that will, over time, get me from here to there? If you can't answer that question with a specific habit, you don't have a plan. You have a wish, and you cannot wish your way to anything that matters. You can only habit your way there. And wishes do not produce results. Wishes produce disappointment. The number of people in the world who have wished for something, who have written it down in a journal, who have made a vision board, who have manifested it with their thoughts, and never gotten it, is essentially everybody. Because wishing isn't the mechanism. The habit is the mechanism. You see, the human being is a slow-moving creature when it comes to real change. The body changes slowly. The mind changes slowly. The bank account changes slowly. Anything worth having takes years of small daily inputs. And those daily inputs are the habit. Without them, the destination might as well not exist. With them, the destination is just a question of time. You build the road. The road carries you. The destination arrives. That is the whole pattern. And every single day you do the habit, you are laying another foot of road. Here's the move. The next time you set a goal, any goal, your second sentence after stating the goal must be a habit. Not a plan, not a strategy. A daily, repeatable action. I want to lose 40 pounds, and I'm going to walk 30 minutes every single morning starting Monday. That is a complete thought. The first half is the destination. The second half is the road. Most people only ever say the first half. They never get to the road. And without the road, the destination is just a postcard on the refrigerator. Now let's look at why most goals fail in the first 3 weeks. It is not that the goal was too big. People can do extraordinary things. The problem is that the goal was wildly larger than the daily reality of the person who set it. The gap between what they did yesterday and what they need to do tomorrow is so enormous that the mind cannot bridge it. Take the person who has been sedentary for 10 years.